Buenos días, estudiantes. Hoy vamos a hablar de los pasados. Yo recomiendo que en su página de apuntes hagan 2 columnas. So today we're talking about the past, and I really recommend you get a piece of paper and you fold it in half so you can have 2 columns because there are 2 pasts. So we're going to be comparing a little bit these two. We're going to be talking about the differences between the two. And then you have your practice with the two. So once you have your 2 columns, on the one side we're going to write the first past we learned, which was the imperfecto. Okay, el imperfecto. And on the other side we're going to have the pretérito. See, el pretérito. So el imperfecto, these are the ones that end in aba or ia. Like yo hablaba, yo vivía. Okay, so if you need to review those, go back to your notes on the conjugations of the imperfecto. So I also refer to this as the aba-ia tense. I also refer to this as the general past tense because it's very open-ended. We're talking about general things we did in the past and not so specific. The preterito, these are the ones which in the yo form end in a or i. In the L form, they're ending in o, io. Like yo bailé, yo viví, él trabajó, él vivió, comió. Okay. I also like to refer to this as the specific. This is the specific past tense because we're talking about one specific thing or something done at a specific time. So today we're going to talk about these two. We're going to talk about some differences between the two, and we're going to talk about some verbs that maybe mean different things depending on which tense they are in. Okay? So el imperfecto. So we're going to use el imperfecto, like I said, in a general way. We're going to use the imperfecto to talk about what was happening. Okay, we're also going to use the imperfecto for something that somebody used to do. Okay, so something that was happening, like ella bailaba cuando, she was dancing when, or what was happening. This can also be like I'm setting up the scene for action that's later to come. Also used to do, like cuando era niña yo coleccionaba osos de peluche. I used to collect teddy bears. I don't anymore, so please don't get me any. So something that we used to do more than once, right? This is why I call it a general tense, because we're talking about things that happened more than once in our lifetime. We're also talking about a very general time frame, okay? If we're looking at this as a timeline, so let me make a timeline. So here's my timeline down here. Okay, the imperfecto, this is going to be like, oh, well, maybe it was like at this time or it was over here. Okay, whereas when I'm talking about the pretérito, I'm being very specific. I'm like, oh yeah, that point right there, this happened. Okay, or this was going on, and guess what? At the end of it, boom, it exploded. Okay, this is something very specific. So we're going to use the pretérito to talk about things that happened. Okay, something that happened at a specific time. Okay, at a specific time, at a specific moment, or we know that it happened and it's done and it's over with and we're not really concerned about it anymore. If you're feeling like there's no way that you're ever going to get these two worked out, you're not alone, okay? This is something that actually takes a very long time to acquire. The best way to acquire recognizing the differences between the 2 past tenses, the best way to acquire being able to produce correctly the 2 past tenses is actually through reading. So let's go into these just a little bit to give you a little bit of an overview. But then, like I said, keep in mind that the best way for you to actually learn these is simply by reading. The more you read, the more you're going to understand what the difference between these 2 tenses are. Okay? So one thing that can actually help us a lot with knowing which tense to use is context clues. Okay, there is a series of words and phrases that can let us know that we're probably going to be using one tense over the other tense. Okay, so for example, in the imperfecto, if I see something like a menudo, I'm not talking about the delicious soup. I'm talking about the a menudo means often. Okay, so I'm just changing the size of my pen here so that we can see what I'm writing a little bit better. So a menudo, which means often, you can also say frecuentemente, which I'm probably gonna, frecuentemente, which also means often or frequently. A veces, sometimes, a veces. Cada, and then insert word here, cada día, cada año, cada mes. Cada means each. Okay, so cada tarde, every afternoon. It can also mean every. Or todos los is another phrase. Todos los and cada mean the same thing. Todos los días, cada día. Todos los veranos, cada verano. You can use them interchangeably pretty much. De vez en cuando. De vez en cuando means from time to time or sometimes. You can also say generalmente, playing into the fact that the imperfecto is the general past tense. Siempre, which means always, siempre. And then mucho, which means a lot, or nunca. If it's something you never did, you're also going to use the imperfecto. So these here are some phrases that if I see these in a sentence, I know that I'm going to be using the imperfecto of the two past tenses. Okay? In the preterito, there are also some phrases that are going to let me know that I'm talking about a specific moment. Okay? Now, you need to be a little bit careful because if you're setting up the background, like if I want to say yesterday it was sunny all day and then it rained, I can use the imperfecto. But most often, if I'm using these words with an action, I'm going to use the pretérito of that action. Okay? So ayer, yesterday. Anteayer, which is a fun word. Anteayer means the day before yesterday. Anoche, last night. Entonces, any of these transition words, right? Entonces, luego, después. These are going to indicate that I need to use the pretérito. If I say esta mañana, I'm being very specific here. If you're noticing, in comparison to my imperfecto verbs, I'm like, okay, yeah, yesterday as opposed to every day, or last night as opposed to every night. Okay, I'm being very specific with what I'm talking about. So I can do this with months too. I can say el mes pasado, which is last month. I can also say el año pasado, last year. La semana pasada, last week. I'm being very specific about when this took place. If you say hace and then an amount of time, so hace 2 días. This hace means ago. So hace 2 días, 2 days ago. Hace 2 años, 2 years ago. Hace 2 horas, 2 hours ago. Okay, so these are very specific phrases. So you can see if I see one of these phrases, it's going to kind of give me an indication of which past tense I need to use. But once again, like I said, these are just clues to help you get it. The best way to get it is by reading. So make sure you're paying attention during our free voluntary reading time.